Welcome back to Property Auction Hunters, and we don't have Safe again today, but we do have a fantastic upgrade, not a replacement. But we have Piotr Rusnek and we have Jade Macaulay, and if you're new to the channel, my name is Jay Howard. I was an auction manager for 7 years, then went into business development within the auction industry, and prior to that, I managed a private family office with £3.3 billion under control. My business partner Piotr was a buying agent in London for several years. Really got the knack for auctions and just hasn't been able to give it up. It's a really fun drug. I keep saying that. But we have Piotr with us, and we have Jessica Macaulay. I'm going to let Jessica introduce herself, but Jessica is amazing. We've been hanging out with Jess for a while now, joined our buyers club, runs a networking event in London that she'll share the details on, and is doing some absolutely brilliant deals. Jessica.
Thanks, Joe. What an introduction. That's very nice. So I predominantly buy at auction now. I've been sort of full-time in property for about 3 or 4 years. Started in 2007. And I run Partners in Property in London with Sue Sims and Adam Lawrence, who I know you guys know. Obviously, they set that up. So that's a lovely property network. But my background's actually not in property at all. I'm scientist by background, and then I was a management consultant and kind of done loads of different things, but property's just been something I'm super interested in. There's always lots of different things there, isn't there? So it's an area you can always learn, so it's definitely kept me interested.
Amazing. And what kind of properties do you typically buy? Do you have a typical kind of profile of a property, or do you just buy anything? Just in your area?
I tend to invest on the South Coast, so Hampshire, West Sussex, that kind of area. But in terms of what I invest in, I always say anything that's not an HMO, although technically I do have a couple of HMOs in my portfolio, because I guess I'm looking for the deal, not for the strategy. So not like just buying, 1 to 2 bed flat conversions or commercial to residential, kind of looking at the deals holistically rather than that. So, yeah.
So what does it mean that you're looking for a deal, not a strategy? Like what would make a deal? Is it just the circumstances of it? What is it? What you're gonna have at the end, like in terms of cash flow, or like what are the important things that make a deal?
A deal for me is normally a unicorn deal, so or cash out. So that's ideally what I'm looking for, because I'm in a growth sector of my business. I want to grow the portfolio and find what other people aren't interested in at the moment. So typically, I'll be looking for a project where we can, renovate it and then get cash out the deal, or move tenants on and do something similar, or and literally anything. But I like the stock that no one else is looking at, because I don't really want to be competing with other people when you're looking to get all your cash out of a deal. It's quite busy.
Definitely. I remember this one deal that you did at the start of the year, right? Just as you joined the Auction Buyers Club, you bought...
You were in the club for like 2 weeks, or just about, and then just out of the gate, straight into a deal.
It's a nice one.
That was a 2-bedroom flat or 1-bedroom flat?
Yeah, it's 2-bedroom flat, flat. It was one of those ones, it was the wrong property for auction, I think. So it was a bank repossession. And it had quite short terms. So I think it was 10 days. 10 days. Completion, which is pretty quick for auction, right? And it was quite nice. Like, it didn't really need a massive refurb. It was in a lovely development in a really good location, and it was just the wrong way to try and sell the property. They tried to sell it through the open market, through estate agents at quite a high price, kind of the ultimate end price. And it had just chipped slowly down over 12 months, and the bank had been losing lots of cash. So I managed, obviously with your guys' help, to pick that up post-auction from an auction in February. So yeah, that was a cracking deal. I'm pleased with that one.
Do you want to talk about slight numbers on this? Just high level?
Yeah, so I think it was guided at 200 and it probably needed sort of like £10,000-15,000 just to revamp it. It's just not been touched since it was built in 2007. But again, nothing major. And we managed to pick that up for 182.
Hi, I'm Michael Alison. I'm the Commercial Director at Roma Finance, and I'm delighted to tell you that Roma Finance have the Flow Bridging range, which is specifically designed for those fast completions, which have come in handy when you're looking at purchasing a property at auction. If you want to know more, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you.
Post-auction, which is quite nice.
Nice.
But I think it's quite interesting because Jay, you said make sure you go to all the viewings, and I kind of went to them and there was just no one there. So you're asking the agents kind of, oh, what's been happening? No interest. And same with the auction house. So you kind of get a sense that no one's going to bid. And I nearly bid on it on the day because they were...
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's the kind of magical thing, because I remember when you were like trying to make an offer and stuff, like obviously auctioneers and agents, they will use tactics, or they will use words that are vague, that might suggest that there was interest.
Exactly.
Or they might suggest that, there's someone looking at that. It might be a janitor, like in the building, but they will just say someone's looking at this.
Yeah.
That makes you think that, you're competing with someone, and then you're kind of compelled to make that offer.
Absolutely.
Or bid in the auction and get it for 200 to 20.
Yeah.
Well, it still kind of works, but it's not the same deal.
100%.
But when you know how to filter those words, how to filter those vague statements from auctioneers or agents, then you're able to like secure deals that seem impossible.
100%. Yeah, because you look at it and on the face of it, I thought, the price that I got it for was just awesome. Like I'd be delighted with that if I was bidding at auction or whatever, or getting it on the open market. So no, it's a cracker. And then again, we did the work on it and it sort of values up around, again, it depends on the market. The market's a bit funny at the moment, but probably about 300.
Really?
So yeah, it's
with
really...
10k spent on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Not bad. I mean, obviously there's fees as well and stuff like that. But that one, again, was quite interesting because there was like a clause hidden in the legal pack where it kind of said, if we're not aware of any costs, it's on you. Yeah. So, and there was some arrears there, which we managed to find out because, again, it's like knowing people, isn't it? We knew the managing agent for that block. Yeah. And so could ask them, they're like, oh, yeah, there's $4,000 of arrears. So, again, it was lucky, I suppose.
So I think the interesting thing about this was that you were a perfect buyer for it because you knew the block or the agent that was managing the block, which is quite a big thing because then you're able to get information that...
Well, you had information at the bank, didn't you? The seller didn't even have that information. So you were able to bake that into the deal and say, look, the reason I'm at this price is X, Y, and Z, and they couldn't really refute it.
Yeah, no, it was really lucky. But again, like it wasn't that much work.
Lucky. It was
no.
lucky.
No.
It seems lucky, but it wasn't.
Doing it once by mistake and it turning out okay, that's luck. But you went in there purposefully. But interesting question for you. You don't really want to compete with people to get properties at the right price, but your focus is buying at auction. How do you kind of deal with that, where auctions are an environment where people are forced into competitive situations?
I guess it depends where the auction is and who the auction. So if it's with an auction house that's quite digital, you can see, can't you, to a degree, because there's you can see how many people have liked that.
Waiting to bid on it.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of get, if I see something like that and there's 36 people that have, watching it, it's a waste of time. So there's that side of it on a very basic level. And then I suppose it's just getting to know the auctioneers, and then they start to call you and say, are you interested in this? Have you got, do you know anything about this area? Is this a type of property you might be interested in? Because there's no one that we've got to sell it to. So I think it's building those relationships
You're
as well.
doing very well with this, because they're not just saying, oh, Jess, like, here's a deal. They're chasing you.
Well, it's a funny market at the moment, though, isn't it?
It's a funny market, yeah. But that's really good, because we talk to a lot of people. There's not many people that are getting chased by an auctioneer to say, this will be a good deal for you, try and pick this one up, blah, blah, blah. And you're having those kind of conversations, which is brilliant.
Yeah, but then I think that's business, isn't it? You want to build relationships. And I think for me, I want to be credible. I want to deliver on what we've discussed or agreed, and also come in and fix a problem. I think that's one of the other reasons I like to come in and buy the stock that no one's interested in, is because you're not taking something from a first-time buyer, or, if that's a competitive area of the market, you're providing a solution to someone that wants to sell something. And I think that's quite powerful then, because everyone feels like they've got a good deal in those situations. So, yeah.
How did you make this leap from being a scientist and management consultant to, or maybe like what was the leap from scientist to management consultant and then to property, or was it like scientist to property?
I did my PhD, and then I went into like engineering, so oil and gas and energy consulting. I love that. Again, I like learning things. And then I set up my own, consulting practice and did that for a while. But one of the things that happened in one of the businesses I had afterwards was we had a really cool, I don't know what we call him, like consultant friend who'd been there, done that, had loads of businesses, and he invested in SIPs. So he owned most of the commercial units around us, and it just kind of got me thinking a bit more about property. I set up a SIP quite early on in my sort of career, which I later turned into a SaaS, which I use now through work. And also when I was at uni, I used to watch Homes Under the Hammer and all those boys. So again, I did my first buy-to-let when I was at uni, and it's just something that I've been interested in that sort of the whole way through, really. And it's amazing to be able to do it full time now, which is really cool.
Right, and do you have like a team working with you, or is it just you? What's your setup?
Yeah, it's just me, but I outsource to an amazing kind of team, if that makes sense. So whilst it's just me literally in the business, I would consider all the people I work with to be sort of partners in some way, shape or form. So whether it's lawyers, the auctioneers that we work with, our lettings team, I do some serviced accommodation, so I manage for that as well. And it means you can sort of outsource it to everyone, which is really nice. So yeah.
Amazing. And like I wonder, like with those deals where there's like 10 working day completion, like how do you finance this thing? How did you tackle the issues that stopped other people from bidding?
Yeah, again, I think it's just having the right people around you. So when I call up my commercial solicitor, she won't be like, oh God, how are we going to do that? She'll be like, okay, oh, it's Jess. What she need me to do? Because we've worked together for quite a long time. And funding wise on that one, I mean, I use bridging quite a lot, but I also use a SaaS for some purchases as well, where you can be quite dynamic and fast. So I think it's experience of sort of having the right people around you and also knowing what to do. Like I can't say that my first deal was like, I wouldn't have done it, or I'd hope I wouldn't have done a 10-day deal for my first deal, but now I've got a bit more experience. I feel more comfortable with it. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
So you mentioned earlier on you're in the growth phase of your business, right? This is like where you're going to pump up the portfolio to achieve whatever your goals are, right? In 2025, how do you plan on doing that? Like what are the key metrics that you're going to try and meet in order to achieve your goals for 2025?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think one of the things that I'm looking to do right now is buy a bit more commercial and do commercial regearing. So I think a lot of commercial stock is a bit undervalued at the moment. So finding either empty or underlet properties and sort of regearing it. Again, I like that side of it. It's contracts, isn't it? Rather than sort of going in and hard labour of sort of renovating property. So that, and I think with the market at the moment, I'm looking at more flips, so sort of building capital, because ultimately I want a low stress business of more commercial portfolio long term. So again, it's building that sort of working capital so that in 5 years' time I can change my portfolio back over to mainly commercial stock. So yeah, that is the plan.
Well, you have asked us to be accountable, to keep you accountable to the fact you need to do some flips. Jess needs to do a trade. Excellent. And how do you see your market? Because you're in a decent size in terms of your area is pretty big for HMOs and stuff like that, and you're kind of not an HMO girly. But like, where do you want to? Are you thinking to achieve your goals, you're going to have to expand your area, or just going to have to? What are you prepared to do?
Definitely, I think I was quite risk exposed to location. So a lot of my stock is in one area within Hampshire. So I've started to look a bit further afield, and I think my portfolio is quite varied in terms of the stock in it. So you've got some commercials, some buy-to-let, some serviced accommodation. So I don't feel like that's as much of an issue. But yeah, sort of that's one of the things that I'm doing at the moment is just to kind of throw my net quite wide so that there's, I guess, more stock to look at. Because if you're looking for deals where you can pull all your money out, you literally can't be focused in one area because they just won't be there.
Yeah. Go where the deal is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And how is, because obviously you run Partners in Property London and you've got quite a big network around you. Like, how do you think, how would you say this is helping you find deals, do deals, manage deals?
I think I feel really lucky, actually. I've been very lucky in all of my careers, that I've had excellent people around me that are very privileged to sort of work alongside or know. So I think Pip and the people there, you kind of go and dump your problems, you know what I mean? Because it's quite solitary in property, and I think that's challenging. And it's not like a normal office where you go in and you can kind of talk about it around the coffee machine. You're literally on your own. So I think that's one of the good things about Pip. And always, we're always learning stuff. We'll bring in, obviously you guys have spoken, we'll bring in experts to kind of expand what everyone's doing. And then that means that, if I've got a lettings issue or a legal issue or whatever it might be, I'm able to pick the phone up to people now because of those networks you're in. And I just think it's so valuable in this sector to spend some time building a network, because so often you hear of like awful things that have happened and it could just be avoided if you went to the right person first, versus like, I don't know, spending loads of money on training or meeting the wrong people. So it's nice to have that kind of sounding board of other property investors and developers. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, nice. And we were speaking with some of our guests about sort of the plans for 2025, because like things are slowly going into 2025, right? We're in the last quarter of the year. What are the 3 tips that you would kind of give to people looking to start or maybe get the first deal, or maybe starting auctions? Like, what are the 3 tips that you would give them to kind of pay attention to the kind of stuff you think would be valuable if you were starting out?
Yeah, okay. So I would definitely look at empty or like commercial stock, basically look at that. Not commercial to resi, that's not necessarily what I'm talking about, just basic commercial stock, because lots of those are quite cheap as well. And I think, you're talking about getting a tenant in place and, creating a lease, which then will ultimately make it worth more money. It's quite little effort in that. So that's definitely a space I would look at. I'd say don't go too big. I think it's good to scale slowly. And property, often you hear that people have, got a massive deal or they're in financial stress. So sort of learn it slowly and listen to everyone around you. So there's loads of people doing stuff. What else? I think flips are going to be quite good over the next 18 months, because I feel like the market is rising. So I think auction can be a really good place for that. And you don't...
What would you call a flip?
So I like a 2 or 3 bed house and refurb it and trade it on, or turning a 1 bed flat into a 2 bedroom flat, something like that. So I think those are quite good starter projects, and they can be quite a good way to get some capital from a job quite quickly. Obviously, you've got to be careful pricing it correctly, that you're actually getting all your money out of the deal, and looking for stuff that don't go for the one with massive cracks and stuff, maybe for your first one. Just look for the easier wins. I think that's what I'm learning now, is that actually it's those ones where you make a better return than the ones that you look at and think, oh, that's a wreck, I'm going to make loads of money from it. So often that's not the case. I think a lot of people at auction get caught out with that. So I
think like you find it maybe easier to focus on those things that are easy wins, because you've got your area quite sorted. You know it.
Yes.
You know people in those areas. So
Totally.
I think for you it's quite I would say easier thing to focus on easy wins, because you utilize your network and your people skills and ability to make deals happen. So I think great tip. Now that's those things that if people focus on same area or like area where they have strengths and they can leverage those strengths, that's really important.
So much, yeah. And I think that's the thing. I'm looking at the deals because my background, I'm not in the construction sector by background. So I had to kind of be dynamic in looking at stuff, because I I can't look at a building. I couldn't, when I first started, look at a building and go, right, that's a 20 grand or a 40 grand refurb, because I wasn't a builder. So I looked at sort of things that I did understand. And I think, you know, what's your background, where are you coming from as well? That's another thing. Because you could have skills like legal skills about contracts or whatever that would mean you've got a competitive edge, and it's just finding that within your niche.
Brilliant. I think that's super valuable.
Great way to end the chat there.
Yeah, great way to end the chat. And we'll put the links to Partners in Property in the description. If people want to find out more about it, come to the meeting and get to know you and the people that are there. And what else, Jay? Think thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing the deals with us that you did, and leaving people with those tips.
No worries. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Cool.
Cheers. Thanks, Jess.
And guys, if you like this channel, make sure you subscribe, like our videos, and comment underneath with your thoughts and comments and questions you might have. And we'll see you in the next episode.